Hello and welcome back to the Building HVAC Science Podcast. As I've been doing lately, I'm going to start off this intro with a couple quotes to get you interested in what we spoke about in this episode. It's not about selling energy. It's about helping people use less of it. We had scientific accuracy, but we hadn't built a product consumers liked. That took iteration. AI won't replace a tradesperson. That's why we need to value skilled trades more, like they do in Germany. Eric and I welcome to the episode today Selina Tobaccowala, who's founder of HomeBoost's.com. That's HomeBoost's.com. And she'll describe this new consumer-driven solution that brings energy and comfort diagnostics into the modern era. She has a tremendous tech background, which she explains in the podcast. And she talks about sharing the inspiration behind HomeBoost, which is a unique platform that empowers homeowners to scan and diagnose thermal and energy issues in their home using a plug-in thermal camera and a guided app. The HomeBoost experience pairs smart tools, a mobile app, and artificial intelligence, plus some human auditing added in to generate actionable home energy assessments, all while remaining accessible and affordable for the average homeowner. We talk about product design, user testing, partnerships with utilities and contractors, and the launch of a pro version that should be out now by the time you hear this episode that will streamline report generation for BPI-certified energy assessors. The team also explores broader themes, including the cultural value of skilled trades, that team being us, and how education models from Europe could inspire new respect and opportunity for trade careers in the U.S. So come listen to this episode with Selina Tobaccowala on thermal cameras, AI, and comfort. HomeBoost's big idea.
Hello, everyone out there in Building HVAC Science Podcast land. Eric Kaiser here. Mr. Bill Spohn, right over there. And a special guest with us today, Selina Tobaccowala, here to talk about a product called HomeBoost. Selina, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Wow.
It's an honor to have you.
Yeah, it is. We were chatting before the show. Was there an inspiration that made you start HomeBoost? But you know what? We should start off with your background, who you are, where you came from, and what led you to being here today.
Perfect. Yeah. I'm a serial entrepreneur. My first startup was Evite, which some of you may know, it's like online invitations from my dorm room at Stanford. And after that, I just kept going with multiple tech startups. So I was the president and CTO at SurveyMonkey for a number of years. I started a health and fitness app called Gixo, which got bought by Beachbody. And then got really excited thinking about how can you bring those consumer principles and thinking about consumer behavior to the residential energy space. I have 2 kids, and my kids were very excited about how to make a difference in climate. And when I started to think about that, we started to look at the fact that obviously residential energy is a key item for improving climate and greenhouse gases.
And also, I think a lot of people, and perhaps this is your case, they get drawn to this because it's very personal. It's very human. It's family, it's relationship oriented to be working in the home. What's your feeling about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And the key is that obviously with SurveyMonkey, we surveyed and talked to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of consumers. And we just kept hearing the same thing from people, which is that with interest rates rising, it's like people don't want to move from where they are today. And yet they're facing these comfort issues in their own homes, whether it's drafty windows, insulation problems. One room's hot, one room's cold. And we thought, hey, this is something that we can both have a very positive impact on the consumer on. And then obviously there's like a lot of funding from utilities to actually help consumers with those problems. And that's a very unique thing where the person who's selling you the thing is actually wants you to spend less of it.
Yeah, very interesting. Have you found that consumers have any resistance to calling a professional because either they don't know who to call or they don't know what will happen in the outcome from that?
In talking to customers, we often heard the same thing, which is they receive that email from their utility that says, hey, I spend more than my neighbors. And then they really are a little bit stuck of what to do next. And there were generally a portion of them that had tried and talked to home energy assessors. And if they could get a home energy assessor in their home, that was awesome. But there were many areas where people were either from a radius perspective, like out of distance of a home energy assessor, or the scheduling was just hard because there's a lot of demand out there for home energy assessors today. And so part of what was inspired HomeBoost was how can we help all of these people that maybe don't have access to that professional in a timely manner? And is there a way to make it more affordable for some people who can't afford the home energy assessment?
How does this all work? And I'm going to let Eric explore this. He liked this kind of thing. How does this all work? Like, where does this start? Where does it end? What happens in the middle? And maybe what kind of research we know now, you've done a lot before you came to this point. Eric, go ahead.
You kicked off with some good questions there, but to me, this is really interesting to start involving that homeowner a lot more and getting them to do it a little bit on their own time. So I'm really curious where this focus, because your focus a lot, what I'm looking at this HomeBoost product is a lot with a thermal camera. How does that work with the homeowner, and what's the process once the homeowner gets this in their hand? What do they do with it?
Absolutely. So yeah, it's really a 3-step process. So the first step is that they order the boost box and we send them a FLIR Teledyne thermal camera as well as a black light. The second step is they scan their home. On average, a consumer takes about 30 to 40 minutes to scan their home, and it's through our guided HomeBoost app. And a lot of it is we're marrying the information they know about their home. My daughter's room is cold, my son's room is hot, with the information we know that are common problems. Like, hey, if you have a garage ceiling and a room above it, if you have an attic hatch, let's take those images. So we guide the consumer to take specific imagery, as well as we use the regular phone camera to quickly take photos of all their appliances, their smart thermostat. And then the third step comes in, which is we take all of that data. We use a combination of artificial intelligence as well as a human assisted, like BPI auditor, who goes through and we automate all of the findings to the customer. And so we send the customer a personalized video for every single consumer, which walks them through and says, hey, this window needs caulking, this door needs fixing. And for anything like attic insulation, we never, ever recommend DIY. We always recommend that you contact a contractor who can do insulation. We don't at all believe insulation should ever be done by a consumer themselves, besides caulking a window or some small things like that, where they can get maybe like DIY kits. But other than that, we really try to drive them towards the contractor.
Interesting. So you've got the thermal camera, they're taking all these pictures, but you said a black light. And I'm curious, what's the black light for?
Sorry, I skipped over that. The black light is a very easy way to see from the ground if lights are LED versus incandescent. So it just lets them quickly see if they do or don't have efficient bulbs.
So is it that black light makes the coating inside a light bulb fluoresce, or what's happening there?
Exactly. If it's LED, it actually glows. And for compact fluorescent, it doesn't work, but we're able to recognize that. So we ask them if it's like, if you're unsure, we take a photo and then we tell them, no, that's compact fluorescent.
Gotcha. Okay. So this is really looking at, you're getting thermal images of the windows. What else are they taking thermal pictures of while they do this?
Through each room scan, we ask them to do windows and doors. If it's the top floor, we ask for them to scan the ceiling and see if they see any discoloration. So we give them a little video that says like, hey, here's what you should be looking for, as well as fireplaces. And then we ask them, is there anything in your room that's uncomfortable? So often, for example, if you have like a cantilever and you have a floor above that, it's going to be really cold, like my personal closet. So you know that. So the consumer knows what's uncomfortable in their home. So we really say, are there areas that you're uncomfortable in? Just give us those images as well. That's really the guided experience in the app itself.
Gotcha. And then the AI or the reviewing person, they're going to work in concert to really look at those images, look at what's going on in those images. What other data are you looking at in this? Because as people that have been trained in thermography know, it's sometimes not always that easy. And there's a lot more information that needs to go into analyzing these.
That's right. So we both take a bunch of third-party data. So we look at the wind at that very moment. We look at the weather, as well as we take both the regular image and the thermal image. So we know exactly what we're looking at. So things like, what is the type of window material? Additionally, we do request the customer to scan, and there's a 10-degree difference between inside and outside. So if they try to scan and there's not enough temperature differential, we give them times of the day or the week, which is a good time to scan. So whether it's early in the morning, later in the evening, if they could turn on their HVAC system. So we do try to capture that temperature differential for us to really see it through the artificial intelligence.
And you can do that with the app then, because when they go in to look at that, they're going to geolocate themselves. They're going to say, here's where I'm at. Here's the time of day. You can grab the weather data real fast and just tell them, hey, this is not a great time to scan.
Exactly. And we also can get whether each window is north facing or south facing, so we understand what's happening with the sun at that time as well.
Gotcha. That's taking into account a lot of really important things to do a good, analysis of that thermal picture and see what's going on in that house.
That's right. And we did side-by-side assessments with BPI certified assessors so that we have them do the assessment and then our product, and made sure that we were scientifically accurate. So we spent a year in beta before we launched, just validating our scientific accuracy. And so we started the company in June of 2023, and we didn't really launch until November of 24. And a good portion of that time was validating the scientific accuracy of the product.
Nice. And that's a very important thing to do anytime we're doing something like this with AI and new products, is to validate it, make sure that it's going to do the job that it's intended to do. So I'm really encouraged to hear you say that. Just that term right there, validation, encourages me a lot.
Yeah. So you've got the report in the hands of the consumer. What happens next?
So again, right now, the main thing that we're doing with that is, with this personalized video, is we're trying to drive the customer to take action. Some of the things that we're working on is being able to let them do features like upload their bid so they could see, okay, how does this compare to what you recommend that I do? So we do give them punch lists today, is like, you absolutely need air sealing, for example, so that they know what should be in the quote. But we don't help them beyond that. And so that is some of the key features that we're building out over the next 6-ish months to really get the consumer further along that journey. But right now, we tell them, go get that contractor, and here's the work that you need to do.
Any means of directing them towards a contractor list or?
So with insulation specifically, we have a partnership with the ICAA, the Insulation Contractors Association of America. And so we have a co-branded directory that any insulation person in the ICAA can opt in to say they're willing to do refurbishment. So right now we pull from that list, as well as we have a couple of utility partnerships, and we're continuing to expand those. So if we're in an area which has a utility partnership and they have a contractor directory, we will also pull from there. And then last week, we launched our Pro program. And so whether you're an electrician, an insulation specialist, you can actually sign up for our Pro program. And the Pro program both allows us to direct people to you for work, as well as if you would like to add the home energy assessment to your portfolio of services, or a comfort assessment, we're calling it, because it doesn't have the full safety testing and blower door testing. If you'd like to add your comfort assessment to your portfolio of services, so you walk in as an electrician and you additionally offer a comfort assessment, that also launched last week.
You had mentioned beforehand you got something coming out around the time that this podcast launched. Would you care to talk about that?
Yes, we're very excited. So we are trying to create a product that will work for professional BPI certified home energy assessors. So we're adding on all of the CAS and safety testing, all the blower door measurements, because one thing we still cannot do, although we can understand the weatherization piece, without the blower door, you can't understand any of the ducting in the home and any of the duct leakage. So you're not getting the full home energy assessment with a DIY that you'll get from a professional. So we're adding on the safety testing, all of the health measurements like mold, as well as the blower door measurements, and launching that product to support a professional. We talked to many, many professionals, and we kept hearing the same thing, which is they do spend often between 3 to 10 hours putting together the findings. And so our goal is to get assessors out there in the field, be able to take all the relevant imagery, and then us give them a draft report. So take that time down from hopefully hours down to 15 minutes where they're reviewing our draft findings and that they're saying, yep, this is right, or we need to make this update, and getting that out to the customer.
Very cool. And for both the professional and the consumer, you basically have a workflow that's to be followed that's based upon scientific factors, but also I'm sure any startup is going to be doing rapid iterations. What was that like between June and last November?
Yeah, so there were really two things that were key for the learning. One, as I mentioned, was all the scientific side. And the second was what a consumer was willing to do. Is a consumer willing to go up into their attic? The answer for the most part is no. We're able to get about 25 to 30% of our customers who will climb up halfway on the ladder and take some pictures for us. And if they do that, we're able to get a more accurate understanding of what is happening on their attic. So a lot of it was really trying to figure out is how do we make this intuitive for consumers so they know what they're looking at? Like, how do you give them those videos? We also really worked on what is the contrast that we're showing in the images so that they will capture something for us that we actually want because you can control that contrast. So it's really just working through what is that flow for the customer and how much time are they willing to spend. So we moved actually like multiple things into the optional section. Because what we saw is if they looked at it and it was like, oh, here's all the things I need to do, it felt overwhelming. But if you actually said, okay, let's just get started, start with a couple of rooms, we see consumers get super excited. It's like a scavenger hunt of, oh my gosh, I have these leaks in my home. And then they'll go ahead and they'll add a room and add a room. So it's like, let's just start with your most uncomfortable rooms. And we saw that if you could change that UI to make it so it was progressive, that we got a much better customer net promoter score is what we measure. So customer satisfaction. So those were some of the big learnings we had during our beta period.
And I imagine some of those learnings came from Evite, SurveyMonkey, Gixo, things like that. You just knew what people were going to do in this situation, right?
I think some of it was learnings from that to start off with, but also a lot of it is user testing. We put hundreds and hundreds of users in our beta period through the product, testing their homes, giving us feedback. And you have to be that iterative anytime you're developing a new product, especially because the way that consumers interact with products changed so much. Just think in the last 2 years ago, you wouldn't think that most people or a lot of people would be interacting with a big box to chat with that would be responding like ChatGPT. And everyone thought of search as like the single bar. And so like user interfaces keep evolving constantly. And so you have to both keep up and keep iterating and testing with consumers. So you take your learnings from your past, but a lot of it is iterating quickly as you're going.
As Eric and I both know, you're not doing this alone. You've got a team.
Yeah.
What about any insights into team culture and team building that you've done to build this company?
I'm very fortunate and we have an amazing team. And with all startups, I think the most important thing in anything is going to be the team and the people you're working with. And I think that's true probably with any business. I've only done tech startups, so that's my only perspective. But we're very fortunate that actually 5 of us started the company together. We have a scientist, a chief scientist who is really key for understanding all of the building science side, PhD in math and thermodynamics. And we also have I have a head of design and product who's amazing, engineering lead, and this jack of all trades guy who does everything for us. And so the special thing about our team is if you actually look at us, we hadn't all worked with each other. I had actually worked with everyone, but in total, we've worked, if you add up all the years, we've worked together for about 50 years. Like we have a team that has all had different experience working with each other. And that was really key because there was just a high level of trust getting started. And we all knew what we were going to be doing. And then we've added, our team is still pretty small. We're about 9 FTE.
Wow.
Nice. I'm curious with the Pro product, is there any thoughts towards essentially making like a 3-dimensional model of the home as it goes through here so that it makes it easier to visualize where problems lie later on?
As far as a 3-dimensional model, that is something that we would love to do. With most current phones, you can't necessarily capture that. There's a cool company called Matterport where they are able to capture that, but they bring in their own camera. And so currently we're not doing a full 3D model of the home. We're taking any of the real estate data that exists in terms of the floor plan, and then we're helping build the structure of the home. Like this is the first floor and the second floor for the professional. We're trying to pull in as much of that data ahead of time to save time for when they actually walk into the home, that some of the structure of the home is already there for them.
So you're a national company in the U.S. only?
We are a national company. We launched nationally right away. We also do support Canada, but not anywhere outside of North America or Canada and US.
Any demographic information about where the uptake is coming?
So we're still early, but we have had a homeowner do our assessment in 44 states. So we're super excited about that. And what we do see, obviously, is the places where 42%, as everybody knows, of their bill is their heating and cooling. It's like everyone who's listening to this podcast. And so it's really are places where you do have those swings in temperature where we're able to help more in terms of the efficiency side. I live here in San Francisco and we don't have our HVAC systems on that much. So it's not as useful for somebody in a moderate climate like that.
I wanted to go back to that pro product a little bit more, and really what's that process going to look like for the professionals when they get into using that? I know you said they're going to get a report back out in a very short period of time. Are they going to be able then to edit that report through your app, or are they going to have to take that out into another piece of software to edit the report for themselves?
Yeah, so we will turn around the findings to the professional within 72 hours, and then they would give us the feedback via the app to say that here are the things that I don't agree with, or here are things I want to add, mainly because what we want to be able to do is then, if we've made an error, if our artificial intelligence has made an error, we want to learn through that again. So we will give the professional time to turn it around, and then we'll turn it around again. We're still going to really focus on trying to get the end result to the consumer within a week, which is about the time that current home energy assessors get the findings out to a customer. So we don't want to make that experience worse for the consumer.
How do you find your auditors, your reviewers? Are they local? Are they spread all over? Are you looking for qualifications?
Yeah. So for currently the people that are reviewing all of the images, we have a full-time person on staff who's a BPI certified assessor. She's also been a proctor in the BPI community. So she's one of our full-time employees. And then we have 8 contractors or 8 home energy assessors that are spread out across the US that we work with. And because we do find that sometimes if a home is in a specific region, sometimes some of that local knowledge is really helpful for understanding, like, I think it was Texas, it's like, often the HVAC system is in the attic. And that was something we hadn't seen before. So it was being able to have those conversations. So we do have our 8 home energy assessor contractors spread out across the United States.
What are your plans for the next few years? Without revealing things, but I mean, like, how do you see this going?
We really look at our product. As I mentioned, we're partnering with utilities. Utilities spend quite a bit of dollars to try to help people with their energy efficiency. And our goal is to be able to provide both professionals working with utilities our product, as well as, like, as I said, those harder to reach homeowners, the homeowners that do want to DIY themselves. That's like the person who loves going to Home Depot and then really still getting those referrals to the contractors for the actual heavy work. And so that is really spreading out through those channels. And then, as I mentioned on the product side, what we really want to do is help both the homeowner and contractor through those next steps. I heard your great podcast with the gentleman, Mr. Teese, I think, in terms of doing the AI.
Tersh, yeah.
Mr. Tersh, yeah. And like, just the idea being is that if our agent, once a consumer says this is the work that's needed, if our AI agent could talk to the scheduling and you could actually get the customer without them having to get back on the phone, back and forth, to have somebody come to the home, the installation person has maybe already received all the information, all the images, everything. They know what they're walking into from our product. That to us is like that magical experience that we'd love to build, because it helps both the contractor to be able to know exactly what they're coming, what's all the imagery I'm looking at, what's about to happen. And then for them to be able to automate and the scheduling of coming when works for both the homeowner and the contractor.
I saw your ads, I think on Facebook a while ago, maybe like when you first launched. How else are you marketing to consumers?
We're definitely doing some of the direct-to-consumer marketing. So we have the traditional Meta, Google, some of those ads running. And then, as I mentioned, a very big channel for us is the utilities. So we've partnered for some pilots with Baltimore Gas and Electric. We have a really exciting program launching with Central Hudson, where we'll have a boost box in all of the Central Hudson libraries in the mid-Hudson library area. So people can check out the boost box and use it to get their home energy assessment. So that's our second channel that we're really working on for consumers.
Have you encountered or thought about the weatherization community, practitioners, et cetera?
Yeah. So again, I think on the weatherization practitioners, we really do need to have the support for the full blower door test as well as the safety testing in order to partner with the weatherization. So hopefully by the time this launches, we'll have that product available. And that will be a really big focus for us, is partnering with the weatherization organizations.
What about integrations with other software packages and apps and things like that? Have you looked into or have any plans to do that with other things?
Eric, give me like one example.
I'm just thinking about maybe like indoor adding together, you're looking at comfort and the shell, and then you're looking at indoor air quality or looking at load calculation or looking at business software where the people in the field are already using a software package. And I hear this a lot. It's cumbersome for them to add on multiple inputs in the field. So these people may already have a software package they're using for dispatching or reporting or something like that. Is there any integration there?
In terms of integrating with other software packages, we are talking to a couple companies on the home inspection side because obviously for things like appliances, they've already pulled that data into it. And so if they want to add on a home energy assessment, we don't want them to have to do all of that all over again. And then I think the other key is in certain markets for the home energy assessors, they have to actually submit the home energy assessment via specific software. So for example, in the New York region, and NICE required to be submitted in that specific software. And so we're trying to make sure that the home energy assessor wouldn't have to do all of that twice. And so we're working on trying to see if there's a way for us to integrate into some of those software packages that already exist.
Gotcha. Because I think that's going to be an important thing for, I'll say, more rapid uptake for a lot of this.
Absolutely. And again, it's like our product is built in a very modern way where it's like very easy for us to integrate with other software. So we have what's called APIs where we can pull in data, and then same thing in terms of the outputs. So it's really figuring out what is that workflow for someone and how do we integrate into what they already are working on? Where are we replacing versus where are we integrating?
What's the path to follow for an interested consumer? And I like to think all our listeners are consumers. They probably live in a space. And even if they rent or lease the space, it still might be interesting to know what's going on. Path for consumers to follow up and for contractors.
For consumers to follow up, it's just going to homeboost.com and buying the Boost box. It's $99. And one thing I should have mentioned is that it's $99. You keep the kit for 30 days, and then there's a return envelope in there. So you send it back. And that's partly how we keep it so affordable, is like nobody needs to keep a thermal camera in their home as in terms of a homeowner. And so you have that 30 days to do the scan, and then you send it back to us, and then we can reuse that equipment again. And so that's a big way that we keep it affordable. For a pro, very similarly, on HomeBoost, we have a link that says for pros. Right now, it's just a form to fill out, and then we'll be in touch and hopefully get you started on both our current pilot program as well as our full launch in the fall.
Maybe it's an edge case, but maybe there is that super geeky homeowner who already has a thermal imager. Can they still work in your program?
We have really tested the product with the FLIR Pro. And so if somebody has that specific camera, then yes, it's absolutely fine. And we actually discount it to $75 because we don't need to do the shipping back and forth. So like they shouldn't have to pay for it. And that's the same for obviously a professional, which is like presumably they'll have the thermal cameras. Right now, we only work with that FLIR Pro, and that's what we've done all of our QA and testing on. We are looking at if we can expand to some of the other FLIR models.
And the consumer or the user would pick the Android or iOS version. And
Exactly.
I see you've got that labeled very nicely, so it's pretty crystal clear.
Yeah, we support all types of smartphones. And for the professional, we also see many people use iPads. And so that works great as well.
Got a question in terms of level of satisfaction with how things have progressed since you started with a vision, obviously. Your team started with a vision.
Yeah, there's always the ups and downs and how long it takes you to get out the door. So when we started in June of 23, we thought, okay, we're going to get this out before the summer next year. That was our goal because we really wanted to, obviously, when in summer months, it's when homeowners feel the most, right? It's like in the winter and the summer, they feel the most like I'm roasting in here, I'm freezing in here. And our net promoter score was not where it needed to be. So our net promoter score was in the 30s, and we just thought we can't launch with this. And so we really had to innovate in terms of like, how did we improve the product? And we had reached our scientific accuracy, but we had not reached like a product that a consumer liked. And so we iterated and we iterated. And like, for example, some of the big innovations, like I mentioned, was we turned some things into optional and we made it a progressive flow in the app. And then the other was we launched this personalized video. So before we just had this PDF and consumers were overwhelmed with just like this PDF. And obviously, if they have like a professional come into their home, they're often going to jump on a call with them and walk them through the findings. And so we created this very personalized video that's walking the customer exactly through, like with showing them the image that says like on this left corner of your window, you need to caulk the window. And then now we've been able to scale that fully because that's actually an AI avatar that's walking people through, even though most consumers don't realize it.
Couple things to make sure our listeners are on the same page with you. If you could explain Net Promoter Score and the concept of progressive flow.
So Net Promoter Score is, you see it on a lot of products where people will say, would you recommend this product to a friend or colleague? And that is a really key measurement. It should be used, in my perspective, for really most companies. It's a really good thing to measure because if you are willing to reference somebody, that is the highest emotion in behavioral with surveying. I have a lot of experience in surveying. So with willing to survey people, that's a really high emotional factor. And so the way it works is you have to score a 9 or a 10 for being a promoter. And then there's essentially a middle group, which are passives, and then detractors. And so if you look at something like, so you get 100 for promoters, a -100 for detractors, and then a 0 for the middle. And if you look at the iPhone, which is like the best product in the world or has been historically, it has about a like 55, 60 Net Promoter Score. And so really anything above 50 is considered really good. And that if you're a young product, like a new product, the first people who try your product are early adopters. You want your early adopters to really be happy with your product because as you go further away from your early adopters, you're going to get less satisfaction. And so that really was what we were targeting, which is can we get to around 50 for our Net Promoter Score? And then when I was mentioning progressive user interface, what I was talking about is that rather than giving someone, here's like everything you need to do, is walking them along that journey. So it's like, hey, let's start here. Let's start with a few of the rooms. And it's like, hey, it's very easy for you to add a room. Let's make the appliances optional. So once maybe we give you your findings back and then we tell you like, hey, if you actually want to do all your appliances, this is what your report would have looked like. We'll be able to tell you the age of all your appliances with just a single photo. We're able to tell you, gather up the make, the model, any of the manual information. And so then they can go ahead and maybe after they receive that first video, they can go ahead and add on all the appliances. So it lets the consumer do it in their time and when they have their time and when they start seeing value.
If you could change one thing with a magic wand about the home services industry, energy related overnight, what would that be? What change would you like to see?
If there's one thing I could change about the home service industries is I do think that the more contractors that are trained would be amazing. Like I think for many consumers, we hear that it's like it's hard to find a contractor in their neighborhood. It's an amazing career and people are super hardworking and it's a great career for people. And I think historically in the US, there's been a little bit of stigma in terms of some of these careers people going into and not necessarily going more into the trades. Versus if you look at a place like Germany or you look at a place like Austria, they take a third of the population and people go into trade school and it's valued. Like the trades are so valued in other countries. And for me, it's like, how do we get the US to create that same value of trades? Because when you think about things like AI, they're not replacing out a tradesman. So for me, it's more about the culture in the US about valuing the trade the same way you might value a white collar job.
Very good. And coincidentally, the next podcast Eric and I are recording today is, go ahead and tell her.
Yes, with the Grit Foundation. Leilani Orr, the executive director of the Grit Foundation. And that foundation is all about putting on camps for kids, we'll say 12 to 17, actually to go out and experience part of the trades and learn a little bit about them and give them the opportunity to see those things in action, get their hands on some of them, and maybe be encouraged to do that.
That's so cool. My kids are 15 and 12, so I'll take a look at it.
thegritfoundation.com, I believe.
That's really cool.
So it's a great organization. TrueTech hosted one with our friends over at the Fast Track Learning Lab, Chad Simpson and his crew. And I've been involved in 2 of them now. And it's neat to see the kids' faces light up when they learn something or they figure something out about, because we do a little bit of carpentry, a little bit of plumbing, a little bit of maybe some HVAC in there, some wiring and electrical, and their eyes light up and they're like, oh, wow, this is cool.
That's so cool. Yeah, here in San Francisco, like my perspective is one of the cool things in Europe is that for the trade schools, they also have boarding. It's like you're going to your college experience, right? You're still going to that experience, but you're going to you're going to trade school. And you're getting not only the actual trade, but you're also learning some of the business side, which is like, how do you run a business? How do you do the marketing? I think that model, it would be super interesting, right? Because there was this huge, it's fun to go to college. Like it's fun to go. And so how do you create that same experience in the trades? I think would be super interesting for people. That's mine.
Yeah. Exercise your independence.
Yeah, exactly. Because you want your kids to go off, right?
And make mistakes.
And so it's like, how do you create that same environment, which again, they've done in other countries in Europe. It's just we don't have something similar here in the US.
Yeah, the Grit Foundation uses a Socratic method for education by asking questions, not by telling them what to do. So
that's awesome.
And I guess we're spending a lot of time on that, but I'm going to say one more thing. I didn't realize, but they've hacked in the fact that the mentors then get to experience how to train their colleagues with the Socratic method versus the I'll tell you what to do method.
That's so cool.
So it's affecting both levels of entry. Wonderful conversation, Selina. So glad we got to meet. We got introduced through Shelby at Conduit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Another Stanford grad like you?
I think she's much, much younger than me. I'm just going to throw that
Yeah.
out.
Well, it's the same institution with,
yeah.
I'm not going to say where in the timeline, but
Okay, great.
Any closing thoughts for our listeners?
Please give us a try. We're super excited to get every customer feedback, both professional and consumer. Our whole business is built on iterating and getting feedback from everyone. So thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you, Selina.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Building HVAC Science Podcast. I'm pleased to be part of such a great network of people that are out there communicating, training, influencing, sometimes just for free, to help people better understand the careers, the trades they work in, and how to interface with other careers and trades. Some of these great trade-related resources include HVAC Our School, Stephen Reardon, HVAC Reefer Guy, Tool Pros, Service Business Mastery, Quality HVAC, HVAC Overtime, HVAC Our Videos, the HVAC Grapevine, HomeDiagnosis.tv, AC Service Tech, Measure Quick, and HVA Chicks. We publish on all sorts of platforms here. We also have this fancy little thing where you can leave us a voicemail by going to our podcast page. That would be buildinghvacscience.com, and click on the microphone in the lower right-hand corner. You can leave us a message. Feedback on the show, thought for another episode, just tell us how you're doing. We also encourage comments and feedback no matter what the platform you use, and hopefully enjoy our content on. We want to thank you for helping us in our mission by just listening to what we have to say and perhaps changing what you do. That's all we can ask for. So until next time, thanks and take care. We'll welcome you back to the Building HVAC Science Podcast. So long.